IDF Chief of Staff Herzi Halevi reportedly warned Prime Minister Netanyahu that should his hardline coalition finalize its drastic plans to overhaul the judiciary, the crisis within the military will likely worsen. Halevi and Netanyahu met in Jerusalem on Wednesday for a routine briefing on security matters, during which the military chief reportedly brought up the brewing crisis in the army, whereby reserve forces are threatening not to report for duty in protest. Halevi issued a similar warning earlier this month, telling Netanyahu that he was very worried to the point where it could harm the IDF's operational capacity. There's been a significant increase in Army reservists declaring they would not show up for military duty in protest of the government's overhaul plan, saying they cannot serve in a, quote, undemocratic Israel. Military brass has insisted that the armed services must remain outside any political brawl, but recent developments in recent weeks have indicated the phenomenon is only growing. And let's cross over to I-24 News defense correspondent Jonathan Regev. Jonathan, how concerning is the IDF chief's warning?
It's very concerning, Sarah. Let's put it this way. Israel cannot win any major war, not even one, without the reserve forces, period. Now, we have to say that the vast majority of reservists will still, whether they oppose the reform or support it, they will come to service. But we are seeing, as you said, a growing phenomena of more and more reservists saying they will not come. The Israeli army, the Israeli way of fighting is such that if a war breaks out, then the first 48 hours are held by the regular army, but then within 48 hours come the reservists, and they're a massive force that would help Israel win. If that force is still existent, of course, but will be smaller, and we're hearing some of the reservists from the Air Force, from elite units, saying they will not show up, that will clearly have an effect on the army, and not only in days of emergency. Reservists are sometimes called not for war, but to allow the regular army to train. They deal with the regular security issues, while the regular army takes us time to train. If there are less reservists showing up for these duties, then obviously this is a grave concern, which was brought up last night, as you mentioned, by the Chief of Staff, and also earlier by Defense Minister Yoav Gallant, both expressing their concerns to Prime Minister Netanyahu.
And Jonathan, we've already seen Hezbollah peek its head amid this political crisis, specifically on Israel's northern border. What could be the security repercussions of an ununited IDF?
First of all, if our friends across the border are listening to me, I would not suggest at all try the Israeli army, not Hezbollah, not Hamas, not Syria, not anyone else, not Iran, not anyone else. Having said that, Hassan Nasrallah in the north and Yahya Sinwar in the south and Ibrahim Raisi in the east, they all look very well at what is happening in Israel, and they understand that this is a moment of crisis. They know very well that the main strength that Israel always had was its unity in times of crisis. That unity is now being torn up. Of course, some would say this is the fault of the government. Some would say this is the fault of the protesters. That doesn't really matter. What matters is the fact that there is a crisis, and Israel's enemies are picking it very well. Having said that, I would, if they're listening to me, I would recommend again, do not try the state of Israel and the Israel Defense Forces.